So how do you even begin to wrap your head around someone like Elon Musk, a guy who wants to save humanity but is also one of the most polarizing people on the planet? Well, today we're going to try to get into the mindset of a man driven by impossibly huge ambitions. And to do that, we have to start with the absolute biggest one.
And he doesn't just mean, a quick visit. He's talking about building a whole self-sustaining city there. This isn't some side project for him. This is the whole ballgame. He truly believes that for humanity to survive long-term, we have to become a multiplanetary species. It's such a massive idea that it literally shapes every single risk he's ever taken.
But here's the thing. For all the incredible success, his story is just as much about spectacular failure. And you just can't understand the way he thinks unless you understand how close he came to losing it all.
Okay, so let's rewind. Way back. Before he was a household name, he was just another scrappy entrepreneur with a pretty insane work ethic, trying to strike gold during the dot-com boom of the 90s.
I mean, the speed here is just wild. In only 7 years, he goes from sleeping on his office floor to walking away from the PayPal sale with $180 million. Now he's 30 years old, with more money than he could ever spend. He could have done anything.
And this quote, this tells you everything you need to know. For him, the money wasn't the prize. It was just the rocket fuel. It was the capital he needed to go after the huge problems he felt nobody else was even trying to solve.
So what does he do? He pushes all his chips to the center of the table. Every last dollar from PayPal went into these ventures. And not just one moonshot, but 3 at the exact same time. You can imagine what people were saying. Experts, friends, everybody. They told him he was completely out of his mind.
And for a while there, it looked like they were right. Which brings us to 2008, the year everything, and I mean everything, came crashing down.
He said this a lot over the years, but 2008? That's when he really lived it. After burning through his entire fortune, his massive vision was about to slam into a very, very brutal reality.
The timing was just catastrophic. Right when his companies were about to run out of money, the entire global financial system just imploded. He called it an economic tsunami. And suddenly, all the investment money in the world just vanished.
It wasn't one thing going wrong. It was a total system failure. SpaceX, 3 rocket launches, 3 fiery explosions. Tesla, burning through cash and just days away from going bankrupt. And him, personally, he was completely broke, borrowing money from friends just to live.
You seriously can't make this stuff up. This is how close it all came to ending. He managed to close a last-minute funding round for Tesla at 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve. It was literally the last hour of the last day before the company would have died. An absolute Hail Mary.
This left him with just a brutal choice. With the tiny amount of money he had left, he had to decide, save one company and let the other one die, or split the cash and risk them both failing. He couldn't choose. He split the money, bet on both of them, and somehow they both survived.
So that begs the really big question, right? Why? Why would anyone take such an insane risk on ideas everyone said were doomed? Well, the answer isn't just about being stubborn. It's about a core way of thinking that he applies to basically everything.
It's called first principles thinking. See, most people reason by analogy. We do things a certain way because that's how other people have done them. He doesn't do that. He boils a problem all the way down to its most fundamental truths, the things we know for sure are true, like the laws of physics, and then he builds his solution up from there. A perfect example is rockets. Everyone just accepted rockets are really expensive. But he asked, well, why? What are they actually made of? So he looked at the raw material costs, the aluminum, the copper, all of it, and found it was only 2% of the final price. 2%! The problem wasn't the stuff, it was the process. So he decided to reinvent the whole process from scratch.
And this is where it all comes together. See, for him, it's not actually about the cars or the rockets. Those are just the tools. The real mission, the ultimate why, is to push technology forward so that we can expand human consciousness itself and start asking bigger, better questions about the universe.
And when you're driven by a mission that big, you start to come to some pretty mind-bending conclusions about where we're all headed. You might want to buckle up for these.
Prediction number 1. He thinks that in less than 20 years, work will be optional. Seriously, the idea is that AI and robotics will create a world of such abundance that you'll only work if you want to, as a hobby, not because you have to survive.
Okay, if you thought that was out there, get ready for this. He also believes the odds are pretty high that we are living inside a computer simulation.
His logic is that any civilization advanced enough to create simulations that are indistinguishable from reality would create billions of them.
But here's the real kicker. He argues that if you were creating all these simulations, you'd probably shut down the boring ones, right? You'd let the interesting ones keep running. So it's kind of like digital natural selection. And if we exist, it's probably because we're living inside one of the interesting ones.
And that brings it all full circle. From that office couch to the brink of total failure to launching rockets, it's all been in service of one goal: to expand consciousness so we can ask the right questions. And maybe the ultimate question his entire life is pointing to is this: are we living in the most interesting simulation right now?